I'm both experiencing hardship and stress while also experiencing joy and celebration. What I've been noticing is that I've been so scared to share these contradictions, to show the vastness of my experiences, to show the complexity of life in the contradictions, in the ups and downs. Fostering connection through vulnerability, the People Pleaser podcast validates struggles, celebrates growth, and inspires positive change. Together, let's embrace authenticity, challenge patterns, and evolve with compassion. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the People Pleaser podcast. This is Corey. It's so nice to be here. Life has been full. Life has really been handing me a full plate lately. So I haven't been on to record for a few weeks, and I know you understand. I know that I've been consistently inconsistent, but there has just not really been a whole lot of extra time and space. There has just been a multitude of things needing my attention. And so it's been great to be able to just sink into the present moment and really just be where I need to be. And alas, today I get to be here with you. I have entered into a period of extreme self-judgment and low confidence. This is actually my third time recording this episode. I'm finding that I am hypercritical of everything that comes out of my mouth, spinning it all around and looking for all its contradictions of maybe the things I'm neglecting to say. I've noticed that I'm holding this impossibly high standard for perfection. I have to think of all the things before I say anything. I can acknowledge that the world is operating in extremes right now and that we are witnessing large-scale tragedy, uncertainty, betrayal, loss every single day. And I think that I am rubbing up against the discomfort of witnessing and acknowledging these global hardships while also honoring my own personal experiences of hardship. I want to use this platform to validate our human experience, and I have to repeatedly remind myself that I do not have to know it all to take a single step. I'm not portraying myself as an expert, albeit of my own experience. I don't want to use this platform to gripe or complain, but I do want to create safety in sharing our experiences and hopefully the associated learnings or takeaways. The area that I've been grappling with lately is the presence of contradictions in my life. I've noticed that with all that's going on in my life, there are life events that represent really different feelings and outcomes. I'm both experiencing hardship and stress while also experiencing joy and celebration. And what I've been noticing is that I've been so scared to share these contradictions, to show the vastness of my experiences, to show the complexity of life in the contradictions, in the ups and downs. And I've had to reckon with this. If I try to get to the root of this feeling, I can acknowledge that there is a part of me that really strives for consistency. I want to show up in a somewhat predictable way that makes sense to others. By sharing that my husband and I are both trying to buy a house and also raising funds for our dog's upcoming surgery through a GoFundMe, I feel as though I'm contradicting myself. How can both of these things reasonably exist? With an anxious disposition, I am someone who really does try to fly under the radar and not cause anyone to really raise their eyebrows at me. If I show up in a contradiction that invites a challenge, someone calling me out or maybe asking for an explanation, I would rather show up totally predictably so as to avoid any kind of confrontation. And life just doesn't really work that way. I've noticed this pattern in my behavior in different areas of my life, striving to control the narrative, manage the space, cultivate predictability and order. And I've attributed consistency and routine to this sense of safety, and unpredictability and inconsistency as a threat. I'm in a stage of life where I try to unpack what's beneath the behavior, understand the deeper motivations, and not just chalk it up to me making my life more difficult. I had early experiences in childhood where my life was controlled by others. I grew up with separated parents, which facilitated a back and forth between two homes. My mom worked really hard to develop routine and consistency. However, my dad was in a season of life where he was experiencing immense unpredictability. He was struggling financially. He was having a hard time keeping a job. And therefore, he showed up in a myriad of different ways. And I didn't always know when I would get to see him. I didn't always know or understand what was going on in his life. I didn't know how he would come and get me. I didn't know what mode of transportation he would borrow. I didn't even know if that mode of transportation would work or get us from point A to point B safely. And I do look back on these times as a part of just the adventure with my dad, but I also know that it facilitated an anxious attachment and these anxious patterns that always made it extremely difficult to say goodbye to my dad at the end of our visit. I never knew when or how I was going to see him again. A common experience for those with anxiety is to try to harness control in the world around us. If we have control, there is a lesser chance of being caught off guard in a situation without the skills or resources that are maybe required. It may be a bit of a cognitive stretch, but I do feel as though I hold myself to this standard. And unfortunately, it has turned into thinking others are doing the same thing, putting me in a box and expecting me to stay within its confines. Something I've reflected on that furthers this observation is that I've met some of my best people on earth in a period of transition. It's as if I'm meeting them right before a big change, whether that be moving to a different city or having a baby, getting into a new relationship, getting married, starting a new career. And as much as I'm happy and supportive of their growth and opportunity, there is a part of me that fears the change and wishes that things could just stay right where they are. And the more I unpack this, the more I realize that I'm not unique. I'm not just finding these people who just so happen to be in the process of change. We are all in a process of change all the time, big and small. My anxiety and attachment style are telling me that the only way that I can feel safe is if everything stays the same. And so I strive for that on a daily basis. You can see it in my daily routine and in the different rules that I live by. But the result of this is extreme discomfort and very low tolerance for the ebbs and flows of life. So what can we do? What do we do with all this? Great question. A big one for me is giving myself permission to hold contradictions. It's possible to feel joy and grief, excitement and fear, all of these contradictory emotions at the same time. To be celebrating and struggling in the same breath. Both can be true and both are valid. It's also important to acknowledge that there is typically not a judge and jury ready to convict you for your daily choices and circumstances. Life is without a rule book, and we are ultimately just trying our best every day. We can begin to notice when we are using control as a coping mechanism. This was a total mind-blowing observation for me. Control can work for us, and it can very well be used when it's not really needed. Ask yourself, am I trying to control this moment because it helps me feel safe or because I believe I have to? Sometimes just naming that impulse softens its hold, like loosens its grip. Knowing that we have a choice and that we can decide how tightly to grip a situation. We can also practice flexibility in small ways. If big changes feel overwhelming, we can start by loosening the control in little ways, shifting our routine slightly, trying something new, or letting things be imperfect. One example that I often think about is how I've been telling myself that I need to prepare our coffee the night before. I get everything all ready so that in the morning we can just press a button and the coffee will start percolating. And if I don't, it will throw off the entire morning. Everything will be in shambles. Like, what will I do? And so for me, practicing this flexibility could be, what if I don't prepare the coffee the night before? What would that next morning actually look like? I don't know because I've never tried it, but I want to. I want to challenge that narrative that I need to do this thing in order for X, Y, or Z to happen. I also am trying to learn to anchor in what is steady. So when change feels destabilizing, we can look for the constants, a person, a daily ritual, or even just our breath. That anchor can help face unpredictability of life with a lot more ease. There are so many wonderful things in our life that show up consistently without our micromanaging. So what are they? And finally, we can offer ourselves compassion. Rather than demanding perfection, reminding ourselves that we're allowed to show up messy and contradictory and real. And it's these traits, it's this human way of showing up that has the potential to create some of our deepest connections with others. Nobody wants that perfect, manicured, controlled, rigid friend. That is not relatable. And it's setting us up for these unrealistic expectations for both ourselves and others. So I really hope that I can stop this recording and upload it without overanalyzing it and just putting it out into the ether and knowing that this is just real and raw and where I'm at today, and knowing that I will be showing up differently even an hour from now or tomorrow or in a year, and that this just encapsulates the moment I'm experiencing now where I've been in this hypercritical, hyper-judgy, hyper-controlled way of being, and it's time for me to just loosen that grip ever so slightly and trust the process, trust my community, and trust myself. Thank you so much for being here. I am sending you so much love, and I'll catch you on the next episode. Once again, this is Corey with the People Pleaser Podcast. Thank you so much for supporting the podcast. If you like what you heard, please consider leaving a 5-star rating and a review on either Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Thanks for listening, and I will catch you on the next episode.